What's up, everybody? What's up, my awesome YouTubers, movie lovers out there? It's Ryan1988 or Justin back with a live stream, and it's been maybe 2 months since my last one. So if I'm a little rusty, I apologize. But I thought this would be a fun live stream to kind of get back into doing it and talking summer theatrical experiences. And today I have a good friend with me and also a YouTuber and movie lover, Nathan Jones. And you changed your name a little bit. It's especially Blu-rays with Nathan Jones?
It is specifically.
There we go. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. It's still new. So, yeah.
Oh, but awesome. So I love the name change, though. By the way, very, very fitting. So for the channel, so
it was a catchphrase. So I always start off my YouTube channel or my videos with the same kind of phrase. So that was the very end of the little thing I say. I'm like, specifically Blu-rays. I'm like, okay, maybe I can just work with that. So I eventually changed it. Yeah. So. But I like it, although it's funny because alongside the name change, I also shaved my head. So,
I did. I was going to mention that too. New look. So, but I love it. I am loving that. So
step closer to Nathan Jones, the wrestler, which is that's what I'm going for.
I love it, dude. So awesome. And of course, the movies behind you, which, as movie collectors, physical medias, we got to have our movies behind us. So. Before we get started with this, have you picked anything up? What's new with you? Anything going on with you?
Yeah. So recently, I'll get to the pickups in a second, but I actually have been watching a lot of the things that I've had on my shelf for quite some time. But this month is martial arts month for me. So I started a new YouTube kind of just collection challenge, called the Triple Threat Challenge. I think a few people are jumping on board. I know there's a lot of challenges out there for a lot of different people from different channels, and I love it. But mine was, I was trying to get it to be a little bit manageable. So the Triple Threat would mean you would watch three movies a week. Doesn't have to be all in a row. It's like, just those 3 martial arts movies a week. And martial arts movies are not that long. They're an hour and a half, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours at the most. So I've been watching all the Shawscope films from Hero, which has a lot of really great films. I've actually watched them all already. So I'm just going through the supplemental material now. And then I've been watching this Eureka Masters of Cinema Cinematic Vengeance, which is the Joseph Ko. Yeah, I don't know how to say his name. He's a Taiwanese director, actually, who filmed in Taiwan and Hong Kong. But I've been watching a lot of those today. Since we're talking about summer movies, I finally watched Jaws on 4K because I hadn't seen it on 4K yet. And
what'd you think?
Oh my God, it's so good.
It is. I know. I was like, I almost watched that today. It was between that and Creepshow, and I went with Creepshow today. But
also incredible.
It is incredible, but Jaws is incredible in general, but like the 4K, stunning, absolutely. I thought the Blu-ray was stunning, and then when I was like, well, let's see how the 4K is, it even topped that, and it is a stunning transfer. So
it was very. It had been maybe a year or two since I had seen Jaws, and watching it on 4K finally, because I've had it for about a year now, I think.
Yeah.
But I just was waiting for the right time, and in the middle of summer with no AC.
Yeah,
that's what I'm dealing with right now. So it's like, you know what? It's summertime, so let's watch Jaws.
Exactly. By the way, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Nathan's channel, I have the link down below. Please go subscribe to him. You should know him already, but if you don't, please go subscribe. Awesome channel, awesome guy, and awesome friend. And if you love everything movies, specifically Blu-rays, did I say that correctly?
Yeah, you did it.
And just physical media in general, Nathan's awesome, and he's one of the nicest guys in the community. So please go subscribe. Link down below, guys. So, but awesome. So yeah, I picked up some nostalgic movies. I told you before the chat I picked up Troop Beverly Hills and Grease 2 on Blu-ray, Steelbook. Grease 2 on Steelbook, amazing.
Who would have thought that it would ever come out on Steelbook?
Right?
Yeah.
So I picked that up, and I've been collecting the Scream Factory 4Ks, which I've said that I'm going to review them, and I need to start reviewing them, but I picked those up. And trying to think if there's anything else. I'm sure I picked up some other stuff. I'm on a Stallone kick, so I've just
Nice.
I ordered some of his back catalog titles today for a good price. So
Ooh, excellent.
yes. By the way, guys, you what?
I was gonna say you're watching action movies too. So
I love action movies. Yeah, this is like for me the best time to watch them. Like summertime, it's like fantastic to watch them during this time. So, which by the way, I have some action movies that we're going to be talking about today. So, but anyway, guys, first of all, who's ever watching, either live or on the playback, thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. And if you guys have comments, questions, whatever it may be, we are going to be talking with you all as well. And, today's topic, this live chat is about summer theatrical experiences, and they can be, recent ones. They can be stuff from the past. And, I was just thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, you know what? One, it's summer. Two, we love movies. And a lot of my memories, besides the video stores, are with theaters and seeing some of my favorite movies, maybe some movies that I love that other people don't love, but these are nostalgic memories that I have. And when I think of theaters, and let me know what you think about this, Nathan, but when I think of theaters, I just think of walking into a theater, seeing movie posters all around me, smelling the popcorn, getting your snacks, and then for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, just sitting in a theater and escaping from the world around us and watching some movies on the big screen.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, that's literally. I mean, especially back in the day. I'm spoiled now because I'm near an Alamo Draft House, which is like the very bougie or very fancy movie theater experience. But yeah, just the matinee with all the posters and the smell of popcorn and those red velvet ropes and like all those candies in the back and all the overpriced food in the back. So, yeah, of course I remember. Yeah, and those red chairs, right? So.
Oh yeah, the red chairs before the reclining chairs that we have now.
That's why we're spoiled.
I know. What are before we even get into our summer movies, what are some of your first memories going to the theaters? Like just in general, what are some movies?
That's a hard one. I mean, honestly, the first summer movie I have on my list might be one of the earliest movie theater experiences I remember.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my movie watching experiences was at my old home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of, I couldn't tell you what the first movie I watched in theaters was. It might have been like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I remember that.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun, of course.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm a rowdy kid, so how quiet can I be?
Right. Same.
Yeah, but that's what I remember, and I'll hold off on my summer one. But it's not too far after that one. So, well, what about you? Do you have any early memories?
Well, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, I saw that in theaters, and I just remember seeing the Page Master. And before the movie came on, it was like a VHS copy of it. They showed a sneak peek of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. And I was so excited as a kid because I was a fan of the show and I had all the toys and the VHS tapes. And I was just so excited as a kid to see that movie in theaters. And then I've been told my first theater experience, which I don't remember because I was a baby, was Muppets Christmas Carol in theaters. I think it was like 1990. So I was like 2, maybe almost 2. So, but yeah, I've been told that's the first theater experience I ever had was seeing Muppets Christmas Carol.
Not a bad one.
Yeah. And the theater that my local theater is still open, and it's been open since 1983, so it's going strong. And I love going to that one when I go to the movies. So, but yeah, so
I wish the theater that I grew up with is now that Alamo Draft House, so still get to go to the same place. And you know of it, Campbell 16. You remember that one?
Yeah. I remember that one. And one of the movies I'm going to talk about, was that theater. So, but anyway, Nathan. So I figure what we can do is we can go back and forth and talk about a movie or movies. Because I know my first one, it's actually 3 films, and I'll explain why. But we can go back and forth and talk about our memories, seeing these movies in theaters. If rather it be, a certain thing, seeing the movie in theaters or whatever it may be. It might just be that the movie was awesome. We'll just talk about, those memories that we have. So, but anyway, do you want to go first? I'll let you kick this video off.
Yeah, sure. Like I was saying when I was talking about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, it wasn't too long after. One of the movie memories that I have in the theater, it's actually more of the after the theater that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an explicit one of those memories that just that's photographic ones that just come up. And that is 1999, and that is Tarzan right here. And I remember at the time when this came out, because it's 99, right? I want to say it's
99. Yeah, 99.
Yeah. So I do remember going to McDonald's actually afterwards and getting a Happy Meal with a Tarzan toy. But I was with my cousins at the time, and this goes back to actually more of up at where they lived. I would go to their house, and I remember we watched like Three Ninjas together. We would watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of those movies on VHS, of course, at home. But these were the cousins that were close to my age, and we all had went and saw Tarzan. We're like, we got to go to McDonald's. We got to get toys. We got to get those Happy Meal toys now. And I do remember being in line with my uncle driving us, and then the 3 of us just like talking about Tarzan. And then all of a sudden in my head, I'm just like, man, that Phil Collins score. I don't even know who this guy is because I'm young, and so I'm like, that music was so good. And so Tarzan. That was one of my earlier movie memories at the theater, but it's mostly after the theater. But I remember seeing it in the theater.
Well, my friend, I might as well just talk about it right now because 2 minds think alike. And Tarzan for me. Hey, Garrett, what's up?
Hey, man.
Born to be rad. How you doing, Garrett? Hope you're doing well. So awesome guy and channel as well. So loving your stuff over there, Garrett. Doing some great stuff. I just watched the Teen Wolf one, and I thought that was amazing. So, but how you doing, Garrett? But yeah, Tarzan. And you talked about a lot of great stuff. And, when I was coming up with this list of movies and summer theatrical films, I was like, I know there have been some Disney movies that came out in the summer. Like, what was it? Well, backtrack a little bit. I was thinking of movies that I thought came out in the summer, Disney films, but actually a lot of them came out in November. So like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, I was like, I know I saw those in theaters, but, apparently they came out in November. So I didn't throw those on the list, obviously. But Tarzan, like literally 30 minutes before we were going live, I was like, I remember Tarzan. And the memory I have is we would visit family in California. And when we were there, we'd be there for like a week or so. And so we would go to like Disneyland and all those theme parks. But, at least a couple times throughout that vacation, we'd go to a theater that was close to where my grandparents lived and where my aunt lived. And they played 2 movies. And one time we went to go see Tarzan in that theater. And like you, I remember McDonald's toys. I remember, the promotion of those, and I knew we had to get them. I remember the straws that they had. So do you remember when you would take a drink and they had like the Tarzan straw and it would make a noise every time? Yeah. So I remember that. And what else? The music. The music was a big thing. Like you said, Phil Collins. Love the soundtrack. And I still love the soundtrack today. But yeah, I have wonderful memories seeing this in theaters. And I just remember after leaving the theater, we went back to my grandparents' house and we had McDonald's and we had the toys and everything. So, but yeah, Tarzan. So yeah, that's awesome. You picked that one because this was on my list too. So I love this. This is one of my favorite Disney movies, and I feel like it's kind of underappreciated.
It's my second favorite because Fantasia is my first, but wasn't around in 1940. So.
Well, that's true. If you were, you age like fine wine, Nathan.
Well, I just have no hair now, right? But that's self-induced.
Yeah. So. But yeah, Tarzan. I'm glad you picked that one too. So, but
I heard another one that you were talking about because when you started talking about that, I was like, wait a minute, the same year, and you might pick it. I don't know, but that same year, maybe I want to say it was a little bit earlier, but that was Phantom Menace, and that was in late May, and I consider late May summer because school's about to be out, and that one in particular, I remember because I had watched the VHSs, of course, with my dad, and I remember standing in line and then watching the movie and really liking it, of course, and then going to once again, it's all toy related at that time. And then I went to Walmart afterwards, and I'm like, I gotta get Darth Maul's lightsaber, and I did. And so that's another one that popped up in my mind for 99.
I saw that in theaters, and it's not on my list, but I will be talking about another Star Wars movie in a minute. But I do remember seeing Phantom Menace in theaters, and I remember, and I don't know if a lot of malls have them these days, but the theaters in the mall. And which is very hard to find those nowadays. Like, you don't really see theaters in malls too much anymore. But I remember, living in Oklahoma, and my older sister and a group of friends, we all went to go see Phantom Menace in theaters. And again, like you said, going to Walmart afterwards, and I remember collecting the small action figures that they had. Yeah. And I had so many of them. It was so great. So I loved it. I mean, that's awesome that you mentioned Phantom Menace because I literally almost picked it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hold off on Star Wars because I think there's one other movie that I have a little bit more of an impact with.
That's totally I completely understand that. So,
but get with the Garrett has some comments real quick. He says, "Doing well, man. Thanks, Justin. Thanks so much, bud. You're welcome." And he says, "Those were the days." And I agree. I mean, you mentioned something, Nathan, because I was just thinking about this. When school would get out for the summer, you go to the lake, you go to the pool and everything. But one of my favorite things, and one of the things that I always remember was you'd hit the theater and the big summer movie would come out. And we're talking summer films now, but you'd go to the theater and get your snacks, and those were just fun memories. I mean, those were just some of the best times. You finish school for the year, go to the movies, and start your summer. And I absolutely love that. Just amazing.
Reminds me of, I always listened to Alice Cooper at that time. I think I was listening to School's Out on repeat. And my dad showed me that song. I think because around that time I was in elementary school. So, he's like, you can listen to some classic rock. That's totally fine. And then, I remember that song always reminded me, it's the end of it's a half day at school. It's the last day. It's a half day at school and we're out. So, yeah.
And it was fun because those last days of school, you would, literally just probably watch a movie or something or get ready to, be done for the year. So yeah, those are always fun times. Getting ready to head out for the summer. So, and then, we talked about another nostalgic thing was, the McDonald's toys that would promote the movies or any really place or, company would promote products like Star Wars. I remember Phantom Menace.
KFC promoted the heck out of with their cups. I remember that.
KFC, yeah. And then Pepsi and Mountain Dew. Do you remember the cans that they had?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love those cans.
Yeah, I do too. They don't do stuff like that very much anymore, I feel.
You keep talking.
But yeah, I remember those. And then like Pizza Hut and all these like great places would promote all this nostalgic stuff. I remember those.
These are the KFC things.
I remember those.
Recently.
I remember those. I do. Hold on real quick because it's in the other room, so I got to leave for a second. But
Okay,
I actually have something too, so be right back. Now we're bringing some fun nostalgic stuff in here.
Yes, this is. I'll keep talking. You go get that.
Okay, you go.
So Sebulba here, and there's a whole line of them. Boss Nos right here as well. Yeah, these KFC toppers. I don't have the cups anymore, which is unfortunate. I'm sure my dad does somewhere. But yeah, these little poppers were at KFC. If anyone in the chat or anyone watching this, not live, remembers this at all, or just all of the extra supplemental material that you would see from places like KFC, right, or Taco Bell, or I remember Burger King had like a Universal Monsters line. And that was to commemorate some anniversaries. So anyway, Justin's back.
All right, I'm back. So, but yeah, speaking of Star Wars, I just got to show this off real quick. So do you remember these? Burger King had these, the watches.
I just talked about Burger King, but I was talking about the Universal monster movie stuff that they had back in like the 2000s. So,
I remember that. I remember those. But yeah, and Burger King was another big one. I mean, Rugrats. I remember when the Rugrat movies were coming out, promoted that stuff. But yeah, when Revenge of the Sith came out, these watches. So, and honestly, I think they still work because I still have them in there, and I think I took them out once, and that was about it. So, but yeah. That one, I collected them all. I had to get them all, so I'll show these off real quick. Yeah, Darth Vader, and they all have like their numbers on them. So you had Episode 1, 2, 3. Then you got the 4, New Hope, or Star Wars, however you want to call them. So, and then the last two. So, Han and Leia. So, and then they have different characters on the back, but. Yeah, still have those.
I just pulled these two. I grabbed two of like the pile. There's Anakin's in there and Qui-Gon and all that stuff too, and Darth Maul. So,
I mean, this is so much. I mean, we're talking movies, but this is so much fun because we're going down memory lane.
I'm so surprised that we talked about Phantom Menace because I just got that box like a month ago because my dad's a hoarder. So he found this box and he's like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Oh yeah, thanks for having that." So, that's funny that we brought it up in the summer.
I know. I still have, we have them downstairs. My dad keeps everything that we've had as a kid. And I think I still have like my Buzz Lightyear and a few things like that as a kid. So it's a lot of fun. That's nostalgic stuff right there. So, anyway, we'll get with these comments real quick. What is going on, Jose? How are you? Said, what's up, guys? Watching 300 on 4K. Nice. And then he says, in my honest opinion, is there anybody that else thinks that Obi-Wan Miniseries is the shit? And I've not seen it yet, so
I like it, but also it just feels rushed in some places, just because it's so limited, And also, anyway, I don't want to get too much into it if you haven't seen it, so. But it's definitely worth a watch for sure. Yeah,
I've heard it's good, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm glad that Ewan McGregor's back, so I love him in that role. And then he says, "OMG, I had those watches." Yes, I have them still, and I thought I got rid of them, and years ago I was going through boxes and I had all of them still. So very cool, very cool. Sean, hello, how are you doing? So, and then my Dead Pit boys are here. What's going on? What's up, boss? How are you? So, by the way, guys, once again, before we continue on, if you haven't subscribed to Nathan's channel, please do so. Channel down below in the description. So, let's get back to our movies. Let's talk about our summer theatrical film. Sorry if we got off track a little bit.
We started talking about toys from 1999, so we're good. Yeah.
What's your next one?
So I'm going to jump a couple years in advance. This is actually a funny story. This is 2002. I don't have the movie in front of me. I don't actually have it anymore. I'd like to get it, though, just because I just thought about it. But Dana Carvey in Master of Disguise.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it. Oh, my God.
So at that time in my life, I was 10. So I watched it with a neighbor friend of mine, and I remember going to that theater. And at that time, like, I loved Adam Sandler, still do. Go watch Hustle, everyone. It's very, very good. But anyway, I loved like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, a lot of the slapstick stuff. Monty Python was around the same time, so it's like, anything that's really goofy, I'm gonna laugh. Master of Disguise, that's obviously a tier below all those movies. But regardless, at the time when I watched it, I liked it so much that I actually pissed my pants in the theaters. That's the memory I have in the home theater, like not the home theater, I was so embarrassed. And my friend would not let it go for like a couple weeks. He was telling all of our friends, like, I hate you, dude. Colton, come on, man. What are you doing? So, peed my pants to Master of Disguise.
Well, you know what? I saw that in theaters too, and all I have to say is, welcome to the Turtle Club. Turtle.
I'm bald now, so I'm doing the Dana Carvey.
Turtle Club.
I don't know what's going on.
But I love that you bring that up because it's not on my list, but I saw that in theaters too, and I cracked up and loved it. So, I mean, it might be silly today, but I saw that in theaters too. So, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Nathan, you're awesome. You mentioned that one, so I'm like, yes, cool. Cool.
Pee your pants is cool. They consider me Miles Davis. That's just another Billy Madison thing. But
I know. I remember that. So. And then real quick, go through these comments real quick, and then I will talk about my next one. But Jose says, he says, I used to work at a Burger King, so I make sure I would have all those watches, man. Hey, that's awesome. So, a lot of cool stuff. I don't think they make like the merchandise like they used to for movies. They don't promote it as much. So, and then Tony's here. Hey, Tony, Basement Blues. What's going on? Hope you're doing well, Tony. So, but anyway, so going through my next pick, I'm let's see. Okay, got this one right here. So this was actually a re-released movie in theaters. Because I was not alive when this came out originally, but I did see it during its 20th anniversary run in theaters, and that was E.T. So it's all that's in theaters. I believe, where did I see this one? It was in Illinois, so I think we were visiting family or my mom or something, and we saw E.T. in theaters, and it was the re-release of it, and I know they changed a little bit of it, so I think this 4K, and I haven't watched it yet, but I think it's the original edition before they added CGI and stuff to it. So, but saw this on its re-release, had a lot of fun with it. This was the first time I was seeing a movie that I grew up with, but was seeing it for the first time as like a re-release film. So, watching it on the big screen, and I think about Reese's Pieces, which was a huge thing about the movie. I had such a great time seeing this on the screen with my younger sister and my dad, and this was a great experience seeing this in theaters. So absolutely love this one. So that's my theater experience. Seeing that in the summer, it's re-release. So, and I loved when they did re-releases like that for anniversaries, and E.T. Gotta love it. So
I wish I saw that. I still haven't seen that in theaters. I know there's obviously retro screenings now, and I would love to eventually do that one day, because that's such a tentpole movie, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, we already talked about Spielberg earlier, and anyone who missed out, I watched this today. But anyway, I didn't want to cue the music because I don't want to get copyright infringed. So.
That's one that I actually would like to see in theaters is Jaws. That's still something you've seen it. I love it.
I want to see it. I want to see it at one of those pools. They have like the large like
Yeah.
things, and then you can watch it on like a big screen, and like you could be on a flotation device. That would be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would love to do that. That would be such a great experience seeing that. So, yeah. So that is one. That's my second one is E.T. And then I'll kind of go through these comments real quick. But Tony says, I remember seeing E.T. in theaters during the original release, and then again for the anniversary in theaters. One of my favorites. Yes, absolutely. I love this movie. And it just celebrated its 40th anniversary. So, just crazy. 40 years of E.T. So,
yep. Just as
old you have to watch it.
Just as old as us, 40 years.
Exactly. And then Sean says, I have some good memories seeing the Star Wars prequels as a teen. Oh, yeah. So, which I'll be talking about another one soon. So,
oops.
And then Jose says, Star Wars. Jose says, I like your Midsommar's director's cut display there, buddy. What is the difference? It's hard to find. Yeah, talk about, because I haven't watched the 4K yet. I have it, but
I still haven't seen it either, but I obviously plan on this summer. I was waiting because I got it, I want to say in the fall of last year, which I could have watched obviously during the time because it's a horror movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen the 4K just yet, but you can get it on A24's site. They have them there. And if you do decide to get it, look into it. It's actually a really great set. But it is $50, so it is expensive. But it has an option for either 4K or Blu-ray. It's actually kind of automatically a Blu-ray, so you have to change it to 4K if you want the 4K. But I'm very excited about it. It's the extended cut, so it's the director's cut. So there's a lot of extra scenes, and I've actually heard it's very good. So,
and I've been wanting to see it ever since I think when it was coming out, like some theaters were getting the director's cut. So it's gonna be really cool to watch that movie, rewatch it with the director's cut. But Garrett says, oh man, yeah, I remember seeing that in theaters during its re-release. He's talking E.T. So yeah, great times. And then I know when they re-released Halloween in theaters, I went to go see it, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I've seen Carpenter's Halloween twice in theaters. So
you have too, just once though.
Yeah, I think I saw it actually. Like I saw it during the summer one time. A theater up in Louisville was playing like different horror movies in August, and I saw that. So, and I saw I think it was 2012 September they re-released it with the new remaster of it. So. But anyway, going into our next theater experience, summer theater experience, what do you have, bud?
I have a movie that I don't actually remember the title I was watching, but I remember my mom and dad dropped me off at the theater, right? And they're like, hey, you can go watch this. This is in 2004, so just a few years later after Master of Disguise, I was 12, so obviously old enough to watch PG-13 rated R movies and all that stuff. Of course, I had seen some at home as well, but obviously I wasn't around my parents, so I couldn't just watch. They wouldn't let me into any movies. I don't know why, but at the time, Billy Bob Thornton's The Alamo had just came out, and as a kid, I was a really big history buff, and I still am. I watched Braveheart and Gladiator when I was growing up, so obviously that stuff stuck with me. So I'm like, I want to watch The Alamo. But I couldn't get into it, so I snuck into it. This is the only time I've ever snuck into a theater. And it's weird because The Alamo's, it's fine. The movie's okay. It's not amazing or anything. But I don't remember what I was originally watching, but I was watching it and I was like, this is very boring and I don't want to watch this. So I immediately went and snuck into the other theater and watched The Alamo. So I do remember parts of that movie. So
I don't think I've ever seen that one, but I do remember when it was coming out in theaters. So you have those certain time periods in your life where it's you remember.
Or
Yeah, blurry. Yeah, it's a blur, and I just remember I think like 2000 to 2005, all these different movies coming out, and some I didn't see in theaters, and some I did. So, but I do remember that one coming out. So, um, let's see. I guess my next one, which I've seen all three of these in theaters, but I'm only going to talk about the first one. But it's a collection pack, and that's the original X-Men trilogy, or the first three movies. And I saw every one of these in theaters. Talking about X2 for a second, like I saw that literally right after school went out, and it was like one of the first summer theater experiences I had that year. And then I saw X-Men 3, but the one that I have the most memories with is the first one. And I grew up with the cartoon. I loved it. And I just remember they were finally making a live action X-Men movie. And I remember the promotions for it. I remember the posters. I have the original theatrical poster. And I saw this again when I was visiting family in California in that same theater that only had two theaters. And we saw it opening night, and I was just in awe with it. Like, I loved it. And I remember leaving theater with a smile on my face. And then I remember, like, just telling my dad, I was like, we got to go see this again. And he's like, no, we don't need to see it again in theaters. That same weekend, by the way. And me and my sister made fake little signs around the house, my grandparents' house, saying, oh, we want to go see X-Men again. I think the kids want to see it. And we saw it, I think, that Sunday night. So we saw it the same weekend twice. And
Very
yeah,
nice.
X-Men in theaters for me. We didn't have a lot of live action comic book movies then. And, we had the Batman, Tim Burton Batmans. We had the Joel Schumachers, the Christopher Reeve one, the Superman movies. But,
that was the start of the Fox,
yeah.
the Fox Marvel movies. And that was a good start. So
I love, yeah. And again, I think pre, Avengers and all those films. And I'm like, you had the Spider-Man movies, all those, like you said, Fox films, Fox Marvel movies come out. So, but yeah, one of my favorite theater memories was seeing twice the same weekend, X-Men in theaters. So, loved it. Absolutely.
Thanks, Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Grandma and Grandpa. Thank you, my dad, too, because he was like, fine, we'll go see it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun time. So, we get some comments in here. Let's see. Let's go. Let's go back. I think Garrett was just saying that the addition of Midsummer, there's an alternate beginning, which, in my opinion, kind of messes it up, makes me feel more tongue-in-cheek if a movie. But the rest are added. The rest of the added scenes are cool. So very cool.
Well, excellent.
We'll be watching that. Ethan, what's up, Ethan? He says, I want to see Dawn of the Dead in theaters so bad. Me too. I would love to see Romero's, and I love Zack Snyder's remake too.
That's the one I remember. That one scared the living shit out of me because I didn't like horror movies at the time. Now this is not a theater experience, but that reminds me. I remember late at night. I think we had HBO because how cable companies were, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't actually have HBO. We only had like a month, or somehow we were getting it for free or something. I don't know. But anyway, I remember having one of those 6-hour VHS things, and I was recording the movies I was watching, and I had like fallen asleep, and like I woke up, and it was like probably like 11 o'clock at night, or maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's one of those times, and I wake up to the very first scene of the little girl waking up the parents. And then she's like, oh, what is it, dear? And then all of a sudden she just goes rabid and just starts blood everywhere. And I'm like, and that scarred me in 2004. Man, that wasn't a home theater. That wasn't a theater experience, but that I do remember Dawn of the Dead pretty well.
I have a similar experience with Dawn of the Dead, but mine was, so my mom would let me watch horror movies because she loved them. We had that's one of her favorite things is horror movies. We love watching them together. But living with my dad, like when I was younger, he didn't want me to watch them, and so I remember it coming out in theaters, and then I remember you can watch it through pay-per-view or something. And one of the channels you can watch like the first 10 minutes, and then like you had to pay for it. But I remember seeing like Freddy versus Jason, like the first 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh man, they cut it off after that. And then I remember Dawn of the Dead, and I remember that scene with the little girl. And right after that all happened, you know, they were like, oh, if you want to watch more, you got to pay for it. And I knew my dad was not going to let me watch it. So
That's fair.
But,
fair.
Yeah. But I got to see the beginning. So
it's a memorable beginning.
It is. Sean says, oh man, I sneak in all the time. Big time delinquent here. So
I only did it the once. Straight edge.
Rebels. So let's see. Oracle, how are you? He says, hey gang, finally get to check out a live stream tonight. I actually get to stay up late on Sundays now, since I'm starting my new job tomorrow, which will be in the afternoons. Awesome. Well, thank you for stopping in, and congrats on the new job. So
Cheers.
Very cool. Cheers to that. Exactly. Cheers. Jose says, quick question. Guys, I sometimes buy movies on digital. Is it even worth it, or should I just wait? Because sometimes I can't find it. Sometimes I can't find it. If you know the
copy, I would assume own is what that means.
Yeah, if you own the copy. Are you talking like digital, like watching it through streaming?
I would assume he's saying it's something like, you know, like on iTunes or
something like that.
I don't buy digital. I actually all the digital codes that come with the physical movies. I actually have a friend who I sell them for a really cheap price, but I don't do it. But everyone's different though. Like, you know, I have the means to buy, you know, so it's, and I wouldn't discourage anybody to not buy digital. So,
exactly.
But that's just me. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm the same way. And honestly, mine is more like, I mean, technology savvy. I'm not the greatest sometimes. So I still don't like, even if I was able to try the digital stuff, I just would fly over my head. So I have streaming, which I do love that.
I stream too.
Yeah. But yeah, my digital codes I give to my friend, and you know, I'm like, well, there you go. So he gets those. But yeah, I would say like in general, I think like having like a Blu-ray 4K or just a physical copy of a movie most of the time looks better than even streaming. So, but yeah. And then CJ, what's up? Chris here, long time person I've been talking to since really I started. So he says, happy Father's Day, which by the way, happy Father's Day to everybody. So I hope you're all having a great day. He says, gotta watch Creep Show. First story. Yeah, where's my cake? I watched that today. Bedelia, where's my cake? Bedelia.
Love that end of that sequence so much.
I do too. He says must watch for this day. I agree. I watched it. So Ed Harris dancing in that scene. I'm like, Ed Harris.
I saw that.
In the Creep Show.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ethan says, I buy on digital movies that I want to be able to just stream whenever. Yeah.
That's totally fair. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of the times, like, unless it's a film that I really want to see, like, you know, if it's on streaming first, I'll watch it. And if I really love it, I'll go pick it up on physical. So, but blind buying's fun too. I still blind buy all the movies.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
Anymore, unless it's an upgrade.
Yeah, and same here. And Jose says, I used to love to sneak in the ushers knew me. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Let's see. And then Sean says, I remember having to call the theater or having to a newspaper to check out the showtimes. I remember that too. I remember you would check out the showtimes like in the newspaper. That was like a big thing. So.
I remember parts of that too.
Yeah. So. And then Tony says, I really enjoy the X-Men movies. I do too. Love them. X2 is like one of my favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Movies.
That's my. Besides that and Logan are probably my two favorite X-Men.
Fantastic.
Movies.
Fantastic. So anyway, going on to our next one. So I talked X-Men. What is the next one for you?
Did I just talk about Alamo, or was that? Oh, I don't remember.
You did Alamo, and then I talked X-Men. So
okay. So I'm gonna jump some years because I know you mentioned some years where you kind of don't remember terribly.
Mm-hmm.
You're around, you did these things, but you don't really remember too much of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this was like 2008, so I jumped quite a few years. I don't think I was super into movies that between that time.
Yeah.
Obviously watched many things, but obviously not horror because Dawn of the Dead scarred me. But I do remember watching. This is a movie that's obviously a retrospect, but I remember going to a Major League Baseball game and watching The Sandlot out in the field. And this was during the summer. And it was followed by fireworks at the place, and it's like everyone can picnic outside, bring your family with you out on the big screen they would put out The Sandlot, and I remember watching that and really enjoying that experience, but at the same time, like now the adult that I am and how I love indoor activities, like probably a lot of you do too.
Yeah.
Just like watching movies indoor. I'm like, you know what? It's cool and all, but I like my air conditioning and a couch or somewhere I can be a little bit lazier.
Exactly.
At home. Yeah, air conditioning works, and I don't have it. So anyway,
hopefully you get that fixed soon though. So because I know summer heat is like crazy. So crazy. My next one is the first movie. Well, not the first movie I saw in the franchise, but this was the first one I saw in theaters, and I was already a big fan of the first two movies. But that's Terminator 3, Rise of the Machine. So, I talked about my dad did not let me watch a lot of horror movies, but there were always certain films that we either liked together or that he would let us watch, and we watched, Terminator 1 and 2 on VHS over and over. And on TV. And I remember when this was coming out, and I just remember telling him, can we go see Terminator 3? And he said, yes, we can go see it. So it was me, again, my younger sister, and my dad, and we saw this opening weekend. And I remember before this, like, they had the PlayStation 2 game that was being released. They had some toys and figures coming out. They were really promoting this. And we saw this in theaters opening weekend. And I loved it then, and honestly, I still love it now. It's not the first two movies, but for me, this was really just a great experience because, one, it was the first Terminator film since, Terminator 2, which was 91. And they really went all out with this. Like, they promoted this movie. I remember, like, seeing pictures of the premiere. I think I remember the premiere. They had it on TV on some channel, but yeah, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. Again, solid in the theater that we still have now, and loved it. Loved seeing a Terminator movie on the screen, the big screen. It was just such a fun time for me, and I still love this movie today.
I wish I did. I wish I didn't see Salvation in theaters, but I did. And
I saw that too.
we all did.
Yeah, we saw that one. But Terminator 3 though, I love Rise of the Machines. So fun movie.
That's
fun movie. And then Ethan says Jeepers Creepers was one that scared me for sure. It's definitely a summer film. It is, and it scared me. So.
Scared me a lot too. That's another one. I know I mentioned Dawn of the Dead. That's another one that I had to cover my eyes anytime that movie came on. I'm like, nope. I'm good. Yeah. Good choice there.
I remember when 6th grade, and I did not see it in theaters, obviously, but I remember the trailers for it, and my teacher, I think, saw it in theaters, and she said it was terrifying. And then I finally saw it on VHS, and that movie it's still eerie today. It's still very effective and creepy. So It's a great summer movie. great summer movie.
It is.
So what's your next one? So I did Terminator 3. What is one you have on your list?
Yeah. So this is jumping a few years to 2012. I actually have two memories, but I'll go with this one. It's kind of on the same kind of line of thinking where uncomfortable outside stuff. But this is a drive-in. This is a drive-in movie theater memory that I have. I remember going with a group of high school friends because we had just graduated the year before from high school. So this is a little small group that I were friends with, and we would go to movies and see stuff together. And it's about an hour out of town ish to this theater, and it was a double feature. Not necessarily like the biggest thing in the world, but this is a good movie. But the other movie I'll mention not so good. But the first one is Brave.
Oh yeah,
just came out, and also the other movie is Snow White and the Huntsman, which I don't like to remember much. In fact, I slept, and that's actually the memory I have. So I don't remember what I did the day before, but when I watched Brave, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll watch Brave and have a good time with a Disney Pixar movie. I remember enjoying it, but I remember around that time we were in the back of my Ford Escape at the time, and I remember getting very uncomfortable by the the last hour of the movie, and I'm like, we got to do this again. We gotta keep doing this and watch it. And then I remember laying on the back, and then Snow White and the Huntsman started, and I almost immediately fell asleep. And then I kept waking up, and I'm like, what? And then I remember it was like dusk at the time, and then eventually it was just like pitch black when I woke up, and I'm like, what is going on? And the movie had just ended, and they're like, you fell asleep, man? I was like, and then they're like, you didn't miss much. I'm like, I knew it.
The last driving experience I had was Hocus Pocus in '93. So it's been almost 30 years. So
84 years.
Yeah, 84 years. I quote that all the time, and some people get it and some people don't. So, but yeah, the next one I have is, and we're gonna talk Star Wars now. Again, I talk about my local theater, but I literally saw a lot of my movies in theaters at that local theater, and it was Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. And this is still today one of my favorites of the franchise. I know the prequels kind of get some, hit and miss, vibes from people, but without a doubt, though, like for me at least, Revenge of the Sith is one of the best. It's top 5 or top 3 for me, so it's high up there. And I talked about the watches. I remember they were coming out. I remember Burger King. You can collect them all and buy them. I remember some other toys coming out. I remember promotion for this was huge. This was, we had Phantom Menace, we had Attack of the Clones, and then this was wrapping up the prequel trilogy, and it would be quite a long time before we got any other Star Wars movies in theaters. And I saw this again opening weekend. It was a Saturday with my dad, and he's not seen the original Star Wars movie. Like, he's never seen it, but as a kid, he would go. When I was a kid, he would go see these movies with me, and so Revenge of the Sith he saw in theaters with me. And I remember our theater had 2 showings of this in 2 different theater rooms because it was that huge movie coming out that weekend, and we would wait in line outside, and it was a big event for this film. And I loved it when I saw it in theaters. This is actually what really made me love Star Wars. Like, I enjoyed Star Wars before, but I loved them. I loved seeing this movie in theaters. It made me fall in love with Star Wars. And again, this is still one of my favorites of the franchise, and it holds up well. I love this movie, so big fan. Big fan.
It's a good summer memory for me too. But that episode 1 sticks out, I guess, more as a memory. But yeah, I mean, all those prequel films. I mean, I think they've got. A lot of people here. I think they've been reevaluated quite a bit, and I think we like them a lot more now.
Yes, I agree. No,
I enjoyed them growing up, but I still enjoy them now. So
I do too. I even enjoy Attack of the Clones. I don't think, in my opinion, there's not a bad Star Wars movie. Now I know that's debatable, but I I I'm not afraid to say I love Last Jedi.
I like them all too. So
Thank you.
yeah,
So,
I didn't at first. I didn't at first.
yeah,
But I came around to it. So
there you go. But I'm glad, like you said, I think the prequels are getting a little bit more fan base now than they did when they first came out. So I think this was the last George Lucas film that we got that he directed. So I don't think we've had a film that he's directed since. So but Tony says I enjoy all the Star Wars movies. Awesome.
Good. More Star Wars fans.
Exactly. I love it. So okay, what is your next one?
So the next one is, it's definitely like a tentpole moment for a lot of people, but also, I mean, it's very memorable to me because I guess this all started back when Iron Man happened, right? But this is 2012. This is the first Avengers movie.
Oh yeah.
I watched that movie. That was the first movie I had watched more than twice in theaters because I had seen a couple of movies, like oh, I really like this. I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
But I watched Avengers 5 times in the movies. And it's like I saw it 5 times in the theaters. And I remember this one a lot because all this culmination of like, oh, wow, they did all these individual things and it all came together and it went over really, really well. And I still have a very soft spot for it. But also at the same time, the people I went with to this day, we go opening night every single time. And there's actually a friend who buys all the tickets, and I have not missed an opening night since with these guys. So there's like 10 of us, sometimes there's 12, and we've been around ever since. And I think that was like, it might have been a little bit beforehand, but that was the movie I remember explicitly in my mind was the first Avengers movie. So
that's not on my list, but I do remember seeing that opening weekend, and wasn't like the movie was, I really enjoyed the film when I saw it. I love it more now, but I remember just getting there. It was honestly during the week, and I was like, oh, I was out of college for the semester, and kids were still in school, so I'm like, well, I will go to the 2:00 showing and see it in theaters. And literally there was 5 huge field trips of kids seeing the movie, and I remember walking in the theater, and I sat in the very front row in the corner seat. So it wasn't the great experience, but I did see it in theaters. And again, that buildup that we were having with all these individual movies leading up to that was a huge weekend. So, and that was 10 years ago. Like, that's crazy that was 10 years ago. I just think about that stuff all the time. I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe it's been 10 years. So the next ones, I'm actually, like, in general, these movies, when I think of, like, I think of these movies either during Christmas, time, or during the summer, because they would be released either November, December, or in the summer. And these 2 movies really stick out to me when it comes to this franchise, and that's the Harry Potter movies. And so I have 2 of them here. So I'll just share these real quick. The first one was Prisoner of Azkaban.
I knew this one would come up.
Yeah. Which this is one of my favorites. I love this.
It's one of my favorites too.
It took a different spin and look to the previous movies that we had, and I really love this. I love the story. I love the book. I love the movie. Gary Oldman cast perfectly. So, but yeah, I remember seeing this right after school went out, and I think it was 7th grade for me or 8th grade. And I remember, this was that first summer movie after school had went out for the summer, and we waited in line outside to see Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And, my dad's a trooper. Shout out to him. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Because he would go see these movies, and he was not a big Harry Potter fan. And in fact, I think Chamber of Secrecy fell asleep when I was watching it. But he was a trooper.
Slumber.
You what?
The Chamber of Slumber.
The Chamber of Slumber. But Prisoner of Azkaban, we saw this with my sisters, my stepbrother, stepsister, family, and it was a great event seeing this one in theaters. So Prisoner of Azkaban have great memories, but I also want to throw in Deathly Hallows Part 2, just because before Fantastic Beasts and everything, this was closing out a franchise that I just grew up with and had a special place in my heart, and I still do. And I remember seeing this, I think it was August of 2011. And this was right before I started college. And yeah, I had a tear in my eye because this was ending a franchise that I adore today, but I adored back then. So yeah, and I saw again a lot of these movies in theaters. So the Deathly Hallows Part 2. So Harry Potter in general, like I think those are some of the best theater experiences I've had. So
agreed. I mean, you bringing up those lines. So back, I know it's not so much like this now because you have assigned seating, which I don't know why they didn't do that to begin with. They were thinking about making theaters experiences and stuff, but yeah, just staying there at like a midnight showing, right? Because you would stand out in line at midnight to watch these things, and that's what I remember. From going back to that Phantom Menace, but also Harry Potter, and those are like the last days of that. I want to say so. I love those Harry Potter films, and those are good theater experiences.
I need to rewatch them soon because I at least try to watch them at least like every 2 years or so. So, but yeah, and then again, you talked about the lines. Like there was a big movie coming out, you had to wait in line before you can schedule to get your seats ahead. You waited in line, and memories right there. So I love it.
I don't miss those memories though.
I don't miss those, but I just remember them.
Yes, I do remember them. Too old for that now.
Yeah. Well, my dad's like, you know what? I loved you guys so much that I waited in the snow to get tickets for Rugrats Go to Paris when that came out. So.
Glad that my parents didn't do that. They just waited for the VHS. Yeah.
Jamie Hart, how are you? So getting back to the comments real quick. How are you, Jamie?
Hey.
Jamie's one of my favorite people. So awesome in here. Hope you're doing well, Jamie. And then she sends a heart. So heart to you. So hope you're doing well, Jamie. By the way, guys, if you guys have theater experiences, please let us know in the comments so we can talk about them. So. Yeah. But what's the next one for you?
Next one is a traumatic experience. I knew better from the previous three.
Yeah.
Because these were not. The first one's fine.
Yeah.
The first one's fine. And when I say this, you'll know. But the fourth one, well, anyone can argue that the second one is really where it all went downhill. But Transformers. I watched the fourth Transformers in theaters in 2014, and obviously I had seen the previous ones, and I really wasn't into it. It's fine, but I remember this one in particular because this was like product placement 101, because this was like the biggest product placement film I had ever seen at this point, and I just remember, like I said, being dragged to the theater for that one. I was actually on a date.
Yeah.
So that was obviously we're not together anymore. 2014, it's been some years. But that was not a good movie to watch. I mean, I guess depending on the right person, like we would have at that time, I wasn't Mystery Science. That's not something I was cautious of. So it's not something I can't make fun of something that's like obviously doesn't have to be necessarily something that is meant to be bad, but you can make fun of it and have fun with it with your friends. But that's how I'd watch it today, probably, as I'd watch it with friends and be like, this is just trash. But anyway, I know there's some people who like the Transformers films. That's fair. I grew up with the show, obviously, but that's as far as it goes for me. So.
I personally, well, besides one of the movies, I do love the franchise. I think, what is it? The fifth one after that fourth movie. What is it called?
I can't
remember.
Night in the name.
Nights. Yeah, something. Terrible movie. I know they're like none of them are considered like good movies, but that's the only one that
One is okay.
Oh, I love one. Like I can say I really love one. I saw Revenge of the Fallen. I think that's the only Transformers movie I saw in theaters, and it was a group and me and a group that went to go see it. But yeah, I have a blast with them. Good popcorn fun. Like those are like again when I think of like summer popcorn flicks, that's one that pops up as Transformers.
That's
so.
fair. That's how I'd watch them now. If I watched them now with friends, that's how I would go at it. But back then I was like, nah, this is not good. So.
It's like those are movies where it's like you grab your popcorn or your drink or snacks or a good beverage or whatever it may be, and you just have a good time with friends with it. So, and then real quick, Jamie, I'm glad you're doing good, Jamie. And she says, my best summer theater experience was the original Star Wars in '76. Oh, love that. She says, all of us kids in the neighborhood played Star Wars in every park all summer long.
Man.
Also, Beverly Hills Cop 2 was a memory. So awesome, Jamie. So Star Wars, that's on my list. I want to see Star Wars in theaters. I've never seen New Hope in theaters or any of the originals, so that would be a fun experience. Have you seen any of those in theaters?
Yeah, I've seen the original trilogy, and I've seen I've seen all of them in theaters. Yeah, I've seen them all. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was like, wait a minute, and then like because there's the first three, and then I'm like, so I wasn't around for that, but then I'm like, oh, we just talked about the prequels, and I'm like, oh yeah, then of course I've seen everything since, so
yeah,
I've seen them all. Yeah. But yeah, Empire is my favorite, and that's a very basic answer, but it's a very true answer, and it should be everyone's answer.
That's my favorite. That is like one of the best movies ever made, and just I love that. So, and then Jamie said, I saw it at the drive-in 3 times. Awesome. And she said it was 77. So I always think Star Wars is either 76 or 77, but it's 77. So Jaws, Jaws love right there. So. And then Brandon says E.T. and Jaws are both getting IMAX re-releases this summer. That I would love to go see those. Yeah, I would love to see them. We just talked about Jaws and E.T. So don't want to say the rest.
Yeah, that's copyright.
Oh no. And then Tony says, I have seen all the Star Wars films in theaters during their original releases. That is so cool. So cool. And then Jamie says 76 was Jaws, also a memory, but I think I've told that story. Awesome. Well, tell the story again if you want, because I would love to hear the story. So, and then how are you doing today? I'm going to say Griftwood. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I went to see Exorcist and Jaws in theaters.
I would love to see Exorcist in theaters.
2 movies in theaters. Yes. And then, Film Stock is in here. How are you, Film Stock? I am a fan of Film Stock, so shout out to you. He says, one of my favorite summer movie experiences was the first Avengers, a total blast, and the first big team-up MCU flick. Yes.
That was one of my favorite memories.
Film Stock, by the way, awesome guy. So love your videos, love your channel. But yeah, Avengers, we talk about that real quick. That was really that I can think of like the first time getting a team up movie. Like I could be wrong, but like, having all these different characters come together and it was just made so well and yeah, so awesome. Awesome. And then Evil Dead. I don't think I've seen Evil Dead in theaters. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen that one.
That'd be fun.
That would be a fun one. So what do we talk about? So we talked about
Transformers.
Okay. All right. So the next one I'm going to talk about is a franchise that I love, but honestly, I still have yet to see 4. I have 4. I need to watch it. And I've not seen the latest movie because it just came out in theaters this weekend. But I'm talking Toy Story 3. So I grew up with these movies. I saw 1, 2, and 3 in theaters. I remember seeing 1. I might have been going on 7 years old, 95. And I remember my dad taking me to it. We waited in line, and it was such a great experience, and I still love the movie today. But that came out in November. And then same with Toy Story 2 was a November release, I believe, but we saw that in theaters again. The Toy Story 3, I remember seeing at the theater in Springfield. That's now the Alamo Draft House.
Yeah, Campbell 16.
Yep, Campbell 16. And I'm going to show this right now because I still have
the stub.
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. And we saw it on July 14th at 3:10 p.m. So Campbell 16. And it was me, my youngest sister, and my mom, and we saw this in Springfield, and we were living there at the time. And for me personally, definitely one of my favorite theater experiences, but it had such an impact on me, and it was just because I grew up with these movies. I saw every one of them in theaters up to this film, and I cried. And I cried maybe 2 or 3 times watching this, and my mom and sister were laughing at me, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I was like, you don't understand. Like, these are my characters. I love these characters. I still love them today, and I remember almost bawling my eyes out when they were almost about ready to die in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way that the movie ended, like, I cried.
Oh yeah,
with Andy letting go of his toys, and yeah, so just thinking about it today, it's one of my favorite theater experiences, and it's one of the only times I cried in the theaters. So
we cried in the same place, in the same theater, in the same movie. Same movie.
Same movie.
I watched the same theater in Springfield, Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. So what are your, I mean, did you see these movies in theaters? Like, are you?
Yeah. The first one I watched retrospectively because in 95 I was 3. So
yeah.
I remember watching it maybe around 97.
Yeah.
When I probably watched the first one.
Mm-hmm.
When did the second one come out?
98 or 99.
Yeah, so it was in preparation for that probably is when I watched 97, 98. So yeah, and then I obviously watched 3 and I obviously cried. So yeah, it's definitely a passing of the torch, and I love that. So, but I'm glad that you have a Springfield memory in there. So
I do. I saw that. I saw some of the Harry Potter ones, and Campbell 16. I have great memories with it. So I saw some of my first horror movies at Campbell 16. So it was pretty cool. I remember seeing Saw 3 at that theater with a buddy of mine, and he closed his eyes the entire time, and I'm like sitting there going, oh my gosh, like what is happening here? So,
do you remember the
I do. Yes.
Yeah. So that memory still haunts that place now, because I mean obviously it's an Alamo Draft House, but anytime I take a friend there, or I meet up with some buddies or something, they do their Alamo Draft House thing, and then all of a sudden it gets quiet for a second. I just start hearing, and if they've been in Springfield for a while, they'll know what that is, and they'll just start cracking up. They're like, "Come on, dude, stop it!"
I remember the first times, like you were talking about that, like the theater or just Springfield, Missouri, and I just remember because I lived there at one point, and that was the theater I went to. And I remember like either our parents dropping us off and seeing the movies, or seeing movies with family. And I loved that theater. I loved it. So
it's better now.
Yeah, it's better. I haven't been to the Alamo Draft House, but I have family that live close to that area. So if I'm ever back, we'll have to meet up.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah.
But I will have to go to that theater and see what it's like now. So, but yeah, going through these comments real quick. Awesome memory, by the way. I love Campbell 16. So great talking about that. Let's see. I'm trying. Okay. So Griffwood said I wasn't a fan of Toy Story 4. I still have yet to see it. So
I'm lukewarm about it. My first question was why, but then obviously I watched it and I liked it, but it definitely doesn't have the emotional resonance that 3 does, obviously. So that's all I'll say. So
That's what I was thinking too. Again, it's not that I don't want to see it. I was planning to see it in theaters at the time and I just missed out. But I have it and I still need to watch it. But I want to watch the first 3 movies first again, then watch that one.
it's a good send off. I mean,
Yeah.
it's another passing of the torch, but
I don't think it's gonna have the impact that this one did though.
No, I don't think so either.
No. And then Jamie says, I was 3 in 76. My parents took me with them to see Jaws. They thought I'd slept, and I didn't. When the shark gets Quint, my parents tried to cover my eyes. I wanted to see. I did see all I wanted. There we go. I might watch it after this because I love watching Jaws in the summer. So when Quint dies, it still freaks me out today.
Oh, I just saw that. So again, obviously, it's still as visceral as you think.
In 4K, yeah. And then Jamie says, to know how they did it, my parents always told me TV and movies were fake. Logical, lol. And then Film Stock says, Toy Story 3 is a perfect movie. Always reminds me that while change is scary, it's part of life. Comfort Pixar movie to me. And Pixar movies are very comfortable. I love comfort movies, and they're some of my favorites. Bug's Life I saw in theaters. I don't know if that was a summer release, but I saw that.
Yeah, it feels like a summer movie.
It does.
I mean, obviously with the grasshoppers and that saloon.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a summer movie, right?
Yeah, and again, McDonald's toys. Bug's Life promoted a lot. So going back, I loved it. And then Griffwood says, my theater experience was to see the Dark Knight trilogy and the original Halloween. Saw the original Halloween twice again. So absolutely love it. And we might talk about some Dark Knight soon.
Okay.
But anyway, what's your next one?
So the next one I have is probably my favorite IMAX experience. It's probably a lot of people's favorite IMAX experience. Well, I might be speaking too soon, but back in 2015, we didn't expect this movie to be so good, but Mad Max Fury Road is just such a ride, right? Like this movie, it blew everyone away. And I need to get the 4K.
Amazing.
I love to see the Chrome edition. I haven't seen that yet. So
you haven't seen? Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but that's such an incredible film, and I did not expect it to be that good. I actually had not seen any of the Mad Max previously to that film. So, I mean, obviously I have now since I've seen all of them. But I had not seen it, and so I really didn't know what was going on with like some of the flashbacks or what any of this stuff was. But luckily that movie is more or less, I mean, it stands on its own legs, right? Wheels, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It's an incredible film, and it's just such a technical feat, and then also it's such a thrilling ride. I'm trying to avoid all the obvious puns, but it really is such a great movie. And I remember watching it in theaters and watching it with some friends and just being blown away by it. Because I think around that time, the IMAX had just got to Springfield. It was not too much. I mean, maybe a couple years prior, but it wasn't something I went to all the time. So, Mad Max Fury Road, great theater experience. I love that movie, and I still do. So
I love it too. Yeah. I go back and forth that or Road Warrior being my favorite, but honestly, I think Fury Road is still my favorite of the Mad Max movies. The theater experience, I again saw it in IMAX too, and fantastic. It surprised everybody because I think that movie. It took a very long time for it to be made, but I think, it just blew people out of the water with that. So, love Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, and again, the Chrome edition's amazing, but seeing this on 4K, beautiful. Beautiful.
Got the 4 Blu-ray over here.
Beautiful. Hey, the Blu-ray is great though. The Blu-ray has a great transfer, so I love it. So what one do I want to talk about next? Okay, so I'll save one of my favorites kind of for last. But this was a re-release, and I saw it, I think it was summer of 2018. It might have been 2019, but that's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And this was when Cameron was re-releasing the movie in theaters. And I saw it with a group of friends of mine. Shout out to Doug Lander. He was one of them. He used to be on YouTube. But yeah, we saw this in theaters. We saw it in IMAX. And, you know, what an amazing experience. Seeing one of my favorite films in theaters and one of the best summer movies. And obviously, I was maybe going on 3 when this movie came out, so I didn't see it when it first came out. But I remember seeing the re-release of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and what an experience seeing this on the big screen. So I love Terminator 2, and I'm actually one that I know this is an unpopular opinion. I don't think the transfer is bad on this release. I know get some hate, and everybody's got their opinions, but I love the transfer. I really just love that I got to see this on the big screen. It was fantastic to see that. So,
well, I still have not seen the 4K transfer, so I can't speak on it. And
yeah,
it's been ages since I've seen the I almost said Terminator films.
Yeah.
So I needed to do that again, at least the first 3, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. You don't need to watch anymore.
I have a soft spot though for Genesis. I actually do love that. Salvation is the only one I saw it in theaters. At the time I liked it, and now I watch. I'm like, I can watch it, but it's it feels odd. It feels odd in them. But I do, and I love Dark Fate. I thought Dark Fate, they did a great job with it. But yeah. So, but the first 3 movies are the best for me, like hands down. I love them. And then let's see okay. So I talked Terminator. Go through these comments real quick. Griffwood said I talked about the Dark Knight trilogy and Halloween. Griffwood said, "What is your comfort horror movie?" Mine is Roberto Bava's Demons.
Ooh, nice choice.
My comfort one, and it's my favorite movie of all time, but it's John Carpenter's Halloween. So that one never gets old for me.
I also have a John Carpenter film. I know you can guess it.
Is it Ghost of Mars, Nathan? I think it's Ghost.
It is Ghost of Mars. It's my favorite John Carpenter movie of all time. Yeah, it's much worse. It's The Thing.
I love The Thing.
Yeah, it's a perfect film.
Perfect. I agree.
Yeah. That's a comfort watch, and I probably I've seen it every year. I think since I've seen it the first time I ever watched it. I think back in like 2012 was the first time. Well, no, I had watched it before the prequel, which I think came out around 2011, something like that. But yeah, I've seen that a million, and I have like 4 copies of it still. So I love that movie. So,
and its anniversary is coming up soon. So it's amazing how a movie that originally came out bombed and critics hated it, and now it's beloved film. So
I know.
I love The Thing. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's great.
I can't say for me it's better than Halloween because I think I have more memories with that, but it's my second favorite Carpenter movie. Like this close, like super close.
We're gonna get to Carpenter in a second, but let's finish the comments.
Oh, all right. All right, and then let's see. Jamie says, I've been putting out karaoke covers on my channel, Justin. You should check them out. I definitely will. I've been seeing that too, so I will definitely watch those, Jamie. So I love karaoke covers. So, and I've been seeing some of the songs you've been picking. So great choices. Great choices. And then Jamie says, T2, great choice. Thank you. And then she says, my comfort movie is The Shining.
Good movie. Yeah.
One I would love to see in theaters. I don't think. No, I did not see that one in theaters.
I haven't seen that. I only saw Dr. Sleep in theaters. So
love Dr. Sleep. So great movie. Okay, so what is your next choice?
Well, we were just talking about Carpenter, and so I actually watched a retro screening one summer at the Alamo Drafthouse, which is the former Campbell 16. And this is the second time I had seen the movie. The first time was very memorable too. I was at my studio apartment, and we had a few friends we watched this, but it is Big Trouble in Little China. I watched it in theaters in the summer, and it's a perfect summer movie.
Yes, it is.
It's so batshit crazy, and I remember, like I was saying, this is the second time I had seen it, but having seen it previously, I was blown away by how silly and outlandish it was. But oddly enough, in the theater experience, so Alamo Drafthouse does some retro screenings where you get some props with whatever movie you're watching, and so you get to interact with the movie. Obviously, having if it's an interactive one, you probably want to watch the movie prior to going to the theater and seeing this. It's been out since '87, but I think it's '87, right? When is Big Trouble? Now
87 or 86. I think 86. I think that was 86.
Yeah. I default to 87 because it's my favorite year ever. For movies. But anyway, it's probably 86. There was props there. There was glow sticks. So anytime, any of the mystical things were happening, like thunder just coming from the sky, or any like balls of light would come out, or like you just like do the glow sticks, and everyone's doing the glow sticks. And then anytime there was gunfires, you had oddly enough, we had cap guns. They gave us cap guns, and everyone would start shooting at the screen. And so you just hear a flurry of cap gun as actual, like almost like kung fu martial arts films are going on. So I don't know. It was just such a fun experience in the theater, just interacting like it. I mean, obviously, you go all the way back to those Rocky Picture Horror Show days, and thinking about that kind of interaction. That's kind of the same vibe that I got. Obviously, different, but same kind of energy in the theater, right? And it was a lot of fun. So,
love that. That is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, and Jack Burton, one of my favorite characters on screen. So.
He's the best truck driver I know.
Same here. And I got to tell you, I just ordered a 27 by 40. Oh, I have that too. I got that and the I double dipped for that one. I got that and the Steelbook over there. So I might have to go get those real quick just to show off those beauties, because
it is. I'll let you do that. I'll just tell you it is 1986. So you're right about that.
All right. I know he had a lot of movies come out around that time.
A lot of good hits. But yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. I need to get this Steelbook that you're getting.
Got 2 copies of this movie. So
such a great movie.
Oh, love it. Again, like I said, I have a 27 by 40 poster coming. So looking forward to hanging that one up. So in the movie room, every time I watch a movie. Yeah, or Big Trouble in Little China, I'll look at that poster and go, amazing. So, but yeah, so we'll go through these comments real quick, and then I kind of have my last one, but if we have any more, I can talk about other experiences. So, but Griffwood says, I just ordered John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. I've never seen it before. What are your thoughts? Well, for me, it's top 5 Carpenter movies. And in my opinion, while I think there are better Carpenter movies, I think it's the scariest Carpenter movie. It still affects me today when I watch it. Rather it be some of the imagery in the film, the score, the practical effects, whatever it may be. That one scares me. I think that's the scariest John Carpenter film is Prince of Darkness. So I love it.
Well, I had just saw it for the first time.
What'd you think?
I also loved it. So it's definitely I got the 4K Factory, and it looks fantastic. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I obviously knew going in it was a little bit more heady, a little bit more science and faith kind of just clashing, and a lot of ideas kind of coming together. It's honestly, like, having seen it now, it kind of reminds me of like some Fulci influence.
Yes.
Like, and some
Dario.
Some Dario Argento, but also Lovecraftian.
Yes.
A lot of that stuff. So I mean, it's great. I really loved it, and I love that ending so much. I was like, it might be my favorite ending in it. Well, besides like Halloween, right?
Yeah,
Or even The Thing. I love that ending too. Yeah, John Carpenter has a end a movie.
he
But
does.
that one in particular, though, that sequence is like it still scares me. Like you were saying, it's very scary. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm good.
I mean, we obviously I don't want to. We don't want to talk too much
I don't want
about
to
it.
say anything. Yeah.
But I will say there's some really terrifying imagery in that film. And it can be like the simple things. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing. It could be very simple stuff and it still affects you. And I will only say this one thing, it's not even a spoiler. The way that Carpenter ends the movie, you're like, okay, what happened next? Because he ends it and you don't know. All I could say is there's a mirror and that's it. So that's all. So there's a dream sequence in the movie that keeps appearing throughout the whole film, and that even terrifies me. So, well, but yeah, we won't talk too much about it. But Prince of Darkness, top 5 for me, top 5 Carpenter. So scariest Carpenter for me, scariest Carpenter movie. Even though it's not my favorite, it's still a scary Carpenter movie. So, and then Griffith said, for some strange reason, I cannot get into Big Trouble in Little China. I do have friends. They're the same way.
I get that. Yeah.
There's friends that are the same way. But if you haven't seen it in a long time, go back and watch it because, one, Nathan loves it. I love it. And, it's an odd Carpenter movie, but go back and watch it. Maybe you'll have a different opinion with it. So I tell people that all the time. If you can, go back and watch a movie because you might like it. You might have a different opinion of it the next time you watch it. So, and then Christian, what is up, my buddy Christian? How are you doing? So he said, "What's up, Justin and company? I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight, bud?" So another awesome person and awesome channel. So, but anyway, so my next one, and this is kind of like my final one, but we could talk about others too if we want. But that's the Dark Knight trilogy. So Nolan movies in the summer or Nolan in general in theaters, I love. But so I saw the Dark Knight when it came out in '08. I had not seen Batman Begins in theaters, but I saw the Dark Knight. But the theater experience that I had the best time with, and obviously it's tragic too because of a theater shooting that happened. But the theater experience I had with the film, I'll never forget, just because I saw all 3 movies back to back in theaters. So you had Batman Begins play, I think like 5 o'clock or maybe a little earlier than that. And the first time seeing it on the big screen, I had seen the movie before, but seeing it on the big screen finally was amazing. Then you had The Dark Knight, which is one of my favorite movies. I love that. And then at midnight, you had The Dark Knight Rises. And I personally love the film. I know it kind of gets mixed feelings with people, but I really love the movie. And seeing, in my opinion, what is the best trilogy of all time, or one of the best ones, on the big screen together back to back was just one of the best theater experiences and definitely a fantastic summer experience. So I loved seeing those.
Those were, I had similar experiences to you. I don't think I had seen Batman Begins in theaters. I don't know how, or maybe it wasn't memorable. I don't remember too much.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, Batman Begins is actually my favorite of the 3, which is strange for a lot of people.
Batman Begins?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's a great one.
My favorite. But I do remember watching Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises in theaters in the summer, and those being very big tentpole movies growing up. And those are great choices. Definitely go see them in theaters if you ever get the chance to.
Must watches in theaters, and Nolan in theaters is just amazing. So, I mean, Interstellar was a November release, but if it was summer, it would have been on my list.
I would have talked about that because I have a lot of really good memories of that movie.
I saw it 5 times in theaters. 5 times Interstellar. Yeah, how many did you see it 5 times, or how many?
Oh no, I was going on with the like that was my how with the Avengers I had saw 5 times in theaters, but yeah, no, I just remember I saw Interstellar twice in theaters. Yeah, but I remember my first night it was at IMAX. It was at the Springfield 11, the IMAX there, and I had watched it. I think it started at 10, so it was a late night showing, and that's a long movie. So we got out around 1:30, and I was with my roommates at the time, and we couldn't stop talking about it because obviously throw away the science. Like it's supposed to be a movie, but man, oh man, that the emotions with that movie, and I think that's the best Christopher Nolan score of all time.
I agree.
So good.
I agree. I mean, I can spend and we might have to do this at some point because I love that movie.
Yeah.
We might just have to talk Interstellar in a stream because there's so much I want to talk about that movie because I feel like probably it's one of his underrated ones because I know it's not one that a lot of people say, oh, I love that one or their favorite Nolan movie. And honestly,
it's my favorite Nolan film.
Is it your favorite? Because it's my favorite too. So that is my favorite Nolan movie. And then Dark Knight would be a very close second, but yeah, so we might have to just do a stream on that or just do a discussion on it. So, but yeah, I love Interstellar, but it came out in November, and
we're talking about summer.
But one of my favorite theater experiences, though, and I just rewatched the movie maybe a month ago, and still holds up really well. So I love it. Griffwood comments from him. He said, "Hadn't watched the Dark Knight trilogy in 5 years. I picked up the 4Ks and fell in love with them all over again." And he says, great 4K transfers. I agree. I think they look amazing on 4K, and I rewatched them in 2020, when theaters and everything were shut down. So I sat down one day and I watched them all on a Sunday, and that was such an amazing experience rewatching them. So I love them. What about you? Do you have any other movies on your list? Because I could think of some, but I don't know which ones you have.
I have a few.
Okay.
I just have 3 more left, and I'll leave it at that. But 2 of them I'll just kind of lump in together, even though they're completely different contexts. And actually, I can't necessarily go too deep into it because a lot of there were things in my life at both of these moments that were very, very big. I'll just say the first one is A Ghost Story. They came out in 2017. The A24 film. I actually have the poster right over there. I've actually only seen that movie once, but that movie impacted me so hard because I used to work at a record store, and we talked about that before. And that was a week prior to that movie. I had the news that the record store that I was working at is closing down forever.
Yeah.
And A Ghost Story deals a lot with place, like space in general, as in like physical space, and then also deals with temporal things, so like time. It's like how time and space kind of come together, and our memories with the places that we live and the places we're at and stuff. And so it just all hit me really, really hard. It's a very hard movie to watch. It's also very long-winded. It's not for everybody. It'll definitely test your patience. But it hit me in all the right ways, and I actually wrote about it in college. It's actually when I exited college, that actually was the beginning of my paper. I was talking about communicating through those temporal and spatial relations. Now I'm getting academic, but when I got my master's degree, that's kind of what I was really focused on. And obviously I love movies, and so that was a natural opening story to talk about with that. So that was a memory. I don't know if you've seen A Ghost Story.
I haven't seen it yet. I need to watch that one, so need to watch that. I can think of a few. I have some in mind that I could think of. My next one would be Prometheus, which I love Ridley Scott's Prometheus, and it was the first real alien movie I saw in theaters. I mean, there are definitely better movies in the franchise than Prometheus, but Prometheus for me is
I loved it when I watched it.
You what?
I watched it and I loved it when
I
I watched
loved it too.
Yeah.
Saw it in theaters. I think that one I still have the movie ticket with me. So, but yeah, Prometheus. That's one of my favorite summer theater experiences and one of my favorite movies. And again, that's a film that is divided with people. But if people have only seen it once and they had mixed feelings with it, go back and rewatch it because you might appreciate it more over time. And yeah, I love that movie. So, but yeah. So you're a fan of Prometheus too?
Yeah, and oddly enough, I know when you say that's a pretty mixed movie for a lot of people, but luckily in my life and in my real world friends that I always see all the time, most everyone I know really likes Prometheus, which is really surprising because I mean obviously the science in that movie is, I know we just brought up Interstellar, but like the science is even dumber in Prometheus. But regardless, I mean, it's a movie, right? So like, you're going to have to build up some suspense, even if the decisions that they make are really stupid. But yeah, I had a really good time with that movie, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, good choice.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Ben says, Ben Grimm, how are you doing? Let me pop this comment up. He says, what was your first date movie? I honestly don't know if I've actually like had a date movie. I've seen most of my movies with friends. So, what was your? Do you have a first date movie?
It's hard to remember. I mean, I know I brought up Transformers 4, but I've dated before then and watched theaters movies. Yeah. I remember going and seeing the first Conjuring movie on a date. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. I don't remember when did that come out? 2012,
2013 or 2012, yeah.
So yeah, around that time, that might have been one of my first date movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and in theaters that I remember, at least. I'm sure I dated before then, so I don't know. So yeah.
I don't have any. Like, I don't think I have first date movies that I can think of. Yeah, I don't know if I ever have one of those. I mean, I saw a lot of movies with friends, though. I think we saw like Princess Diaries 2 and everything, but like when we were younger. But no, I can't think of like a first date movie for me. What's up, Slaughterport? How are you doing? Ben says Disturbia was his first date movie. Awesome. And Griffwood says Mummy 1999, which yeah, I love the Mummy. I actually really love the Mummy Returns too. And
yeah,
that was, you do too?
Yeah, no, only the first two though.
That's
it.
I mean, the third Mummy movie, no, and Tom Cruise's Mummy movie, no.
I never watched it. Never need to. So
yeah, I mean, I own it because I'm a completist in some ways, but yeah, it's the first two movies. I'll just say that the first two movies. But yeah, I mean, speaking of summer movies, I did see Mummy Returns in theaters, and again saw it opening weekend, and it was a big thing. So I love that. So what's another one for you? What's on your list?
Yeah. So kind of going along the same line. Sorry to bring it back down to the serious stuff, but in 2019, I was able to have the opportunity to go to China and teach. Actually. I know you know that.
I remember that, yeah.
This was actually that summer, the movie The Farewell came out. Lulu Wang's The Farewell.
Oh, I haven't seen
that. Enough, she is going back to China to see her family for a funeral, right? Or her grandmother who is dying, right? Who doesn't know it. But I don't know why, but like I just coped with it that way, or it's like, obviously, it's not at all the same. I'm a white dude going to China to teach, but me going to another country, or same principle, at least where she doesn't really know the culture of where she's going, and really just being around that, and kind of feeling outside of it all.
Yeah,
that kind of hit me when I watched the movie, and obviously it's a very happy, and it's a melancholic movie. It's very sad and happy, and it's also funny, but it's also You know, it deals with a lot of emotion. So
Yeah.
I cried a lot with that movie, and I remember watching it in theaters. And I actually watched it with a friend who I won't out. He's on YouTube, uh, and I watched it with him. And I just remember when the credits were rolling, he just like was bawling, and like he couldn't stop crying for literally the entire credits. And I was like, man, I'm glad I was here for this, but also like, you know, it hit me too. So anyway, and then I went to China, and then, you know, had a lot of really good memories there. And I also at the same time felt a little bit on the outside, obviously. So yeah, but The Farewell, very good movie. I saw it in theaters twice, and cried both times a lot. So anyway, serious moments, right?
Hey, we got to have serious moments because I have mine too. And kind of rewinding real quick of what you were saying about Ghost Story and you working in the record store, I had the same impact, and I had the same feelings when Family Video closed because I was there for 6 years, and I was there. Like the thing that made it so sad for me was the memories I had, but also literally like I was there the last day that we closed. Like locked the doors for the last time, and it was not even the day when customers. I locked the doors the last day customers were there, but I locked the doors when everything was kind of taken out.
Yep.
Empty.
I know that exact feeling.
It made me cry. I cried when I went outside of my car because I was like,
yeah,
6 years. I know. Sorry for getting sentimental or emotional.
I get emotional too. I don't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah, I know.
Get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll go through these comments real quick. We got my buddy Nick, Lost River Drive-In, who is also Haddonfield High alumni. He is that's our stream that we have every week. So Nick, I love you. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, buddy. And then Ben says, Blair Witch was the one that got the most hype that I can remember going opening weekend with my dad. That was so real. VHS memories with me for that one.
I wish I saw that in theaters. That would have been such an experience.
Same here. My experience was seeing on VHS when we rented it at Blockbuster, but I would go see that in theaters. I love that movie.
Yeah, that's great.
Ben also says that and Star Wars Phantom Menace are movies that were the hype. Were the hype was huge. And we were talking Star Wars earlier, so love Star Wars. Man, those were fun experiences. My buddy Nick says the first date movie for him was Saw 4. LOL. Well, that's a thrilling experience. Now, I first of all, I rewatched those movies last year, and I didn't like Saw 4 when I first saw it, but it's actually one of my favorites now. So, Griffith said, what was the first movie that disturbed you in theaters? I don't know if I've ever had a movie that, well, I don't know. Has there been a movie in theaters that disturbed you, Nathan?
I actually, the reverse. Okay, so this is I mentioned The Dawn of the Dead, right? I had mentioned watching that on VHS, recorded and whatnot. But I remember being scared of like horror movies growing up. I didn't really like them. But I remember, I want to say this is 2007 when this came out. I could be wrong, but Will Smith and I Am Legend was a movie I watched in theaters. And it scared me, but at the same time, it was also the movie I told myself, like, I can do this now. I think I can do horror movies. And from that moment on, obviously that movie had a lot of jump scares, so it wasn't really that scary. It's just mostly jump scares. But at that point on, I was like, yeah, I can do this. And ever since now, I can't stop, like, loving horror. So
yeah, I know. Yeah. Mine, okay, I got one. Because Nick, Lost River Drive-In brings up The Conjuring, which is definitely one of the most terrifying theater experiences I've had. But the one that got me the most, the one that scared me the most, was actually seeing Insidious in 2010, I think, in theaters. And terrified me. And it still scares me today when I watch that movie. There's some really eerie and terrifying moments in it. And I always joke, I'm like, did I get goosebumps because of the movie, or did I get goosebumps because I was right below an air conditioning vent that like was blowing cold air down my back? But I think the movie's just terrifying in my opinion. So I had an impact with that one.
I immediately thought it too.
Okay.
As soon as I started saying it, I was like, "Oh
Okay.
shit! Yeah, of course I know these things." When I saw The Witch the first time,
oh yes,
I was by myself and in a dark room at 9:00 in 2013, and the sound was just so perfect because I was center row, and I just remember it being like goosebumps on my neck just watching it. I was like, this is something else. I have not been this creeped out before.
yeah.
The Witch, and then not too many years later, I guess 5 years ago now, I think Annihilation came out in 2017. That freaking bear. I got so like, I was like, what is going on? I'm like, it's almost like watching Jaws for the first time. It's just like, stop, because you can almost see it coming. You're like, please stop. And I just remember Annihilation being a really great movie theater experience, because I was with my friend and we just literally were like, the bear came on the screen, we just like looked at each other, we're like, this is nightmares. This is such a nightmare. Anyway, I remember
I didn't see that in theaters, but when I finally saw that movie, I was at home. It terrified me.
It's good.
That is Annihilation, amazing movie. But you talk about the bear scene. I'm not going to say too much if people haven't seen it, but the stomach scene.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yep.
I remember, I was like, they're not going to. And the stuff that happened in that scene, I was cringing on my seat. I was like, oh. So, but yeah, I love that movie. Underrated. Very, well, underappreciated, I think. So.
Yeah.
And then real quick, we'll go through these. But yeah, Nick says The Conjuring. But he says, hands down, the only time in theaters I generally was afraid. And Conjuring's very scary. Like, I think that's a scary movie. And then Ben says, same, Conjuring creeped me out. I remember I went to get gas in the way out, and I thought I saw something in the back seat. I almost had a heart attack. Yeah. The scene that always gets me is what the daughter sees behind the door. And yeah, if you know the scene I'm talking about, where she wakes up and there's something behind the door and we don't see it, but she sees it. So, but yeah, yeah. And then Griffwood says, my local theater showed a midnight showing of the original Last House on the Left. Oh, wow. Which, that's an intense movie.
I've still not seen it.
You've never?
I know. I'll get to it.
It's intense. The first time I saw it, I had never seen anything like it, and I thought it was going to be like a 80s slasher movie, and I was wrong. So, yeah, I every time I watch that movie, I need to soak everything in before I watch it. So
I've heard it's intense. Yeah. So.
And then Griffwood said, I went into the movie not knowing anything. Same here.
It's good.
Again, watched it.
I still don't know anything about it, so don't say anything, everyone.
We won't say too much. Yeah. And then Nick says, part of is how damn good James Wan is with sound design. He's talking about The Conjuring. The imagery and the shot composition is already effective enough. The music just kicks it up to 11.
Nice.
I agree.
Watch Spinal Tap too, so nice Spinal Tap.
Do you have any other theater experiences? Because I have one that I could talk about that really comes to mind.
I have one more I can talk about. Yeah.
You can talk about all of them. Whatever theater summer experiences you have.
Well, this was one of the most slap happy movies. Like I don't know, sometimes you just you watch a movie and all of a sudden one particular scene happens and you cannot stop laughing. You start laughing, like the silent laugh, like it's that funny. I don't know why it hit you that hard, because sometimes that's not actually that funny. It hit you at the right moment. I don't know why, because this movie's really good. I really like this movie, but it's not like one of the better comedies out there. But Good Boys, which came out in 2019, right here.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. I need to watch it.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's it's super bad for kids, right?
Yeah.
But there's a part in it in particular that I don't know why it cracked me up so hard. I think it was because I was with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I there was a part where one of the kids get hit by I think a car or something, and just like flies, and then all of a sudden, like the next scene, I'm probably getting this wrong, but all of a sudden the next scene, there's there's a kid just sitting in his home, just like writing something down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he like looks up, and then that friend who got hit by the car is just like standing at the window. And I don't know why, but I just start cracking up. I could not stop laughing at that particular scene. It's just like one of those weird jump scare, like in a comedy. That's you see that sometimes, but I just remembered nonstop laughing, and I couldn't stop. And I actually almost had to leave because I kept laughing. And the scene had already passed like way too far in advance. So.
I didn't. This wasn't originally like in my head, but I talking comedy. I think the one that came out in the summer of 04 or 05, and I just remember laughing hysterically, was Wedding Crashers with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching some clips the other day, and it still makes me laugh. Like I saw that in theaters when it came out, and I remember just laughing so hard with that movie. And it's still funny today. I still love that movie today. So,
but you didn't pee your pants.
I did not pee my pants with that one. I did not, but I was laughing a lot. And then, what are some other? Do you have any others on your list? Because I got another one
this isn't necessarily summer because I had to look it up, but it's something similar to where like I had another experience where this had no right to be funny.
Okay.
But I couldn't stop laughing. I don't know why, but this was one of those matinee showings where nobody was there.
Yeah.
And which is great. And this is not a movie this didn't come out in the summer, like I said, and also a movie that's not necessarily the greatest movie ever. It's actually not very good at all. It's got some good parts, but The Curse of La Llorona, which came out a few years ago.
Oh,
yeah, which is fine. It's a fine movie.
Yeah.
It's whatever. But I remember the person I went with. We had this is I told earlier we were talking about sneaking into the theaters. I didn't sneak into the theater, but we snuck in little shots, little alcohol shots.
Yeah.
We're not crazy about it. We're just like, this is going to be a silly horror movie. Let's just unwind a little bit, have a couple shots. And we're not loud at all. We just sit there and watch it and laugh and stuff because we don't talk. But my friend had left, right? This is and there's like a scene like by the pool where La Llorona is invisible and stuff, and I'm just like into it for a second, and then all of a sudden I like side eye, and then my friend, I see my friend. I didn't know it was my friend at the time, but he is like creeping down and I let out the biggest yelp. I'm just like, because I just get like, I'm scared because I was like into the movie, and then all of a sudden I see my friend, and he's just like, I'm like, oh, I can't even obviously, and that just cracked me up to this day, thinking like, because he couldn't stop laughing afterward. It's like that literally scared the shit out of him.
I got one. I'm the same way. I don't know if it's a summer movie. I can't remember, but the movie Crawl about the alligator.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I love that movie, but my buddy was laughing at me in the theater because that actually affected me because I'm sitting there in the theater and everything that was happening, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like my reaction, I was on the edge of my seat watching this movie thinking, what's going to happen next? What's happening here? And I remember he was laughing his head off, him and his daughter, because the scene where the little alligators hatch in the water, and they're only in it for a second, but the scene when the little alligators are popping up, I said, oh my gosh, they're hatching. And he was like, the way you just reacted to that moment when the little alligators are hatching was so funny because you thought it was going to be something huge. And yeah, so yeah, the little alligators, I was like, oh my gosh, they're hatching. Or when we saw Annabelle Comes Home, and I was like, oh, Annabelle, and just kind of, I think I freaked out during that moment, during that movie. But one other, and kind of like my last, well, actually I have two of them, but like Man of Steel was a great theater experience. I saw that again 5 times in theaters. Really loved that film, and it was the first time I saw a Superman movie on the big. Well, no, it was the second Superman movie because I saw Superman Returns when it came out, but Man of Steel,
I did too.
And I personally really enjoyed that movie, and it was a great experience. But Man of Steel, I loved seeing that in the theaters, and I saw it in IMAX. And then I'll just say my last one, because I had a great time with seeing the live action Scooby-Doo movie in theaters. So
nice.
I had a blast. Still love it today. Still a fun time. So
it's a good movie. It's fun.
It is. But do you have any others that you want to mention real quick before we wrap everything up?
Well, I guess I unfortunately I'll leave it on a bad one. It's a great movie and it's still in theaters. But I had a bad theater experience with it.
Well,
and I'm talking about Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, I want to see it still. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, go watch it. It's very good. But if you do, and anyone's watching this, and I know all of you know this, but don't talk during movies.
Yeah.
Don't talk during movies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can laugh, you can cry, you can wince, scream, start laughing hysterically about something, but then eventually you got to leave. But yeah, with Maverick, I really liked it. I went to the IMAX. It was like during the day, so I didn't during a weekday, so I didn't expect people to everyone to be there, but there were a lot of people there, and most of them were in their 50s or 60s or 70s. That was a lot of clientele there. So, but for some reason, I feel like they had never been to a theater before because they were all just, at every, something happens on the screen, they're like talking to the movie, and I'm like, they can't hear you, first of all, and also there's other people here trying to watch the movie, so shut up. And I had to shush a few times, and I'm not confrontational at all, and I don't like doing that, but part of me is like, hey, shh, like I'm trying to watch the movie. Shh. I had to do that a few times, but great movie, great movie though.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, so go see that in theaters. Hopefully you don't have to see it around a lot of people who talk. Yeah, so that's my last memory.
I've had experiences like that. I mean, they're not summer experiences, but I saw The Nun in theaters, and I really enjoy The Nun, but there was a woman next to me. She was on a date with her husband. And the first thing because I sat right next to her, and she was like coughing, and she said, oh, I just have allergies. I'm sorry if I cough or whatever. I'm like, oh, it's fine. I have allergies too. But she then went on to say, oh, my husband's dragging me to this movie, and I don't really like scary movies. I was like, oh, okay. The entire time this movie's on, she's having her own commentary. And she's talking with her husband about how predictable the movie is and how it's not scary. And I just remember thinking, you were talking the entire time, and I'm trying to sit here and enjoy this movie. And the only time that I got peace was when she left to go refill her drink for like 5 minutes of silence.
Oh, man.
And then she came back and started talking again. And at the end of the movie, we all get up, and she turns to me and she was like, oh, predictable. And I'm like, oh, yeah, predictable. All right. And I'm just like smiling, but I'm really like, you talked during the entire movie. Like,
leave, never come to a movie again.
Yeah. Or Halloween 2018. Group of women sit next to me, and they're like, oh, we're family, and we always go see these. And I'm like, oh, awesome. I love that. And the entire time they're just talking to the screen, yelling and saying language that I'm not going to say like here, but I was just thinking in my head, can we not just sit here and watch this movie and enjoy it? But no. But anyway, yeah. So I had such a blast tonight. So, so much fun. Real quick, I'll go through some of these comments that we have. But Griff Wood said The Conjuring 2 was a good one, as well as I went to the real house, Enfield House. Wow, that's awesome. And then he said, my day stinked when I was 6. And then, no, my day that he snuck in was seeing the original Day of the Dead. Oh, wow, awesome. So very cool. But anyway, Nathan, thank you so much for joining this live stream. I had so much fun. So it was a blast talking movies and nostalgic and all that stuff. So
well, thank you for letting me come on and talk about the summer. Right, we're definitely in the middle of it. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt like this was definitely fitting because we're both movie lovers. We love physical media. We love going to the theaters. We have our memories, and like you said, it's summertime, so a lot of summer theater experience memories. So, but anyway, guys, if you don't follow Nathan yet, please go subscribe to his channel down below. If you love everything movies, specifically Blu-rays with Nathan Jones, definitely go and subscribe and watch his videos. Just awesome guy. So Nathan, I consider you a great friend. I consider you just a great fellow person to talk movies with. So once again, thank you for coming on. So.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and thank you for letting me come onto this live stream. This is a lot of fun, and I want to say thanks to everyone for being, or whoever's watching this in the post live stream. So it was a blast. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Thank you all. And before we go, Nathan, do you have anything coming up on your channel that people have looking forward to?
Yeah. So tomorrow, when we're doing this live stream, so now we're on Sunday. In a couple days, I'll be continuing with my question series. I do a question every week. It's just a 4 or 5 minute video where I more or less try to get engagement from everyone who watches the video. Usually just a question or a prompt, and then I ask for answers in the comment section, and I engage with that. And then at the end of the month, I collect all of those from the whole month, and then I do a giveaway. So that's been fun. This is the second month of that. I also do film journeys, which you've been a part of. Past, and it's back in full swing. It's like the season 2, I would consider, of Film Journey. So plenty of people to talk to, and just engage with everyone in the community. And then, of course, I just do the typical Blu-ray hauls and talk about what I'm watching and all that stuff. So a lot of stuff going on. So thanks.
Awesome, buddy. Well, again, guys, subscribe to Nathan if you haven't yet. You'll love his channel. So awesome guy. But anyway, guys, and by the way, Griffwood, he said my dad sneaked me in when I was 6. So okay, I had to look at it again. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys are celebrating Father's Day, if you're a father, or if you're celebrating with your father or whoever it may be, happy Father's Day. And real quick, happy Pride. It is June, so happy Pride to you all. So much love to you all. Remember to always be yourself, because you're amazing and you're beautiful. Don't change who you are. And speaking of snacks, just go eat some Skittles. Get some popcorn, eat some Skittles. So, but talk to you guys later. Again, much love, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And why don't you say your last thing, Jonesing around?
I'm not jonesing around.
I always love when you do that. So, bye, guys. Have a great night.
See you guys.